Well, I just want to say that any sister listening to this, coming across this, our goal is to be transformed by the renewing of our mind. And whatever someone says to you, or, in correction, or however it is, just to kind of have that self talk with yourself, does this help? Is this scripture? Am I this way? Um, do I battle with this? Do I struggle with this? And take it to the Father in prayer. Pray about it, because none of us are perfect. We all have fallen short, and it's not an attack. We have to stop feeling attacked by each other and begin to heal and build our community. And it starts with us, sisters. It starts with us. We wanna be better. We wanna be transformed. We wanna be better than we was when we came in, better than we was last year, even better than we was last week. So take everything you hear and really chew on it and look at self and pray about it.
Shalom and welcome to Well Watered Garden Podcast, the show that waters women who are rooted and women who are thirsty with Yah's grace. I am Lady Tirtzah Lewis, and today I will be speaking with Sister Chadasha and Sister Ebony. We will be discussing creating safe spaces for ourselves and for others. I think about the interactions that I've had. I've been in the faith for, I'm thinking, 23 years. Will be 23 years in August. And a lot of the schisms and divisions that have occurred in ministries that I'm aware of, and even within our own ministry here in Pittsburgh, the Echad, is due to the actions of women and how emotional we might be or whatever. Um, and so I just kind of was thinking that this is a good topic for women because of my own personal experiences. But I'm not sure, is that something that, either of you have experienced?
Oh, broken women, toxic women. Um, yeah, I've experienced it. I might have even been one at one point in time.
Yeah, I'll put myself in that category too. I definitely had some issues whenever I, came into this walk and into the faith, and I definitely said things that I shouldn't have said to people, and I definitely had my fair share of kaboom moments and clashes. And yeah, it may have come from my brokenness as well.
Nope, I was going to add to that and say that yes, I've had my interactions, and I am um, a recovering toxic person. But I was going to say, someone had mentioned a while back that a lot of times when we start to understand what our triggers are, or maybe get a glimpse of what was something that happened that was traumatic to us, we tend to suppress it and hang out with people or do things that doesn't have that one particular thing come up, so we don't have to deal with that. So for instance, I am, working on being maybe short tempered, right? So I'm going to hang around people who don't test me, So now it's so easy to be like, oh, I ain't got to deal with that no more. That's not my thing. That's not my problem anymore. But in reality, you have isolated yourself from from being in those situations. And I think the real test is when you are in that situation, when you do have that interaction with that, you know, that person that's that is broken, have some trauma experiences, then that's like, how are you dealing with it then, you know? And then you're able to truly see if you've grown in that area. So it's so easy. I think it's just easy to say like, oh, I've gotten over this, or I haven't dealt with that, you know, or I've dealt with that. But in reality, you've just gotten really good with isolating yourself so that you don't have to deal with those particular type of people. And I mean, I'm not going to say that we should all go out and just go to people that trigger us all day. I think it is good that we find safe places and safe spaces to be in so that we can be, you know, our authentic self and not have to worry about who we might easily offend or triggering someone. But when those moments do come up, it's like, you know, to definitely look within and be sure that it's like, okay, I still do have to work on this, you know? So when the opportunity does come up, you know, this is the Most High giving me an opportunity to walk the walk and talk the talk. So, yeah.
When I think about like where I can be my full self and who I am, it's in a place that I feel safe. You know, when I think about, you know, if a person needs help, if I need help, I'm not going to talk to someone that I think is going to, you know, either tell my business or go around and basically sabotage me. But I'm going to talk to someone that I think is a friend, or someone that I think is going to help me or support me in some way. And I think that these type of spaces are really important, because how can we call ourselves the household of faith if people, when they come into our spaces, don't feel home? You know, they don't feel supported, or they don't feel comforted, um, or they don't feel like they're dealing with women who are authentic. How do we simultaneously have these spaces of like mature women in the faith that are helping women, and the broken women who are coming in the door? How do we have these like these spaces, like they're simultaneously hospitals, but also sisterhoods where there should be trust relationships? How do we balance those two things is a question that, you know, I think about often.
I was just thinking about what you were saying, and it's kind of like the healed versus, not versus, but the healed is like commingling with the unhealed, and the unhealed don't really know how to get healed. And so the healed is kind of tiptoeing around the unhealed, trying to assist them because we could see things that they may not be able to see. And it is complex. It's a complex situation to deal with, and it has to be dealt with gentleness, which is one of the fruits of the spirit that we have to cultivate. And a lot of us haven't cultivated that particular fruit. I know I need work in that area, because I'm straight up no chaser, as they say. Like, I will just give it to you bluntly and straight. But sometimes someone needs to be cuddled with the truth. And I don't quite know how to do that. So, you know, just kind of knowing what kind of person you're dealing with and what kind of trauma they've been through kind of helps a lot with that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. And to add to that, I would say, have the people who are seeking out to help heal those who are broken, have you sought out the Father first for you to even be in this position? Because it may not be the right time, or you just may not be the right person, right? And that is from the jump. I think it's going to breed like a dysfunctional situation. And even with my children, like sometimes they have great intentions. It's like, man, you were really trying to be helpful. I could see that you wanted to help, and I saw you think this through, but the way you went about doing it, that wasn't the right way. And going to the Father and asking if that's where he wants you to be, first and foremost, I think that's what we need to do as people who are to be the healed ones, the mature ones, the seasoned ones in this walk. And then I will go on to add that I think it would be, I don't know, go to the Father first. But this is my suggestion. I pray the Father's using me with this. But I think it would be nice to have a lot of people in leadership get formally trained in like counseling, right? I'm not saying you have to receive this certification. I'm not saying it has to be on the wall. I'm not saying you have to have letters after your name, but I do feel as if society has become has done a really good job with like cultivating these ideas of being organized and how to be a really good listener and how to counsel folks. Because I don't know how real we trying to get on this podcast, but the adversary knows what's going on. Okay, like we know why we should drink water. We know why we should eat healthy, but McDonald's and Burger King still exist. Okay, I'm just saying the truth and the information is out there, and I think it would be wise for us to use that information for good, right? And now we've taken time to study the word for ourselves, for living the walk, for talking the talk. So when I get information that comes from an outside source, that means coming from outside of the Bible, I'm able to look at it through my spiritual lenses, be like, okay, this is really good. I want to take this information, and bring it back to my spiritual community so that we can foster this and we can grow. Because a lot of times we are missing a lot of those links. I can think of some examples for later, but that's what I think a lot of people in this walk should seek out first. Praying, asking the Father if this is where you should be right now. And like Sister Chadasha said, because there's some people who are a straight shooter, no chaser. And I think there's a time and a place for that person. I think that person is valuable. And then there's those who treat people with I think Tirtzah calls it gloves, mittens, oven mitts, right? Got to handle them with extreme care. And I know there's women in my life that are so soft spoken, so patient, and so gentle. And there's a time for that too. So I yield.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there are psychological, sociological, behavioral concepts. Just even thinking about the concept of perception and the fact that in every conversation, even this one right now, we are going to walk away with three different thoughts about our conversation. And even if all of us think the conversation was good, something maybe different is going to stand out to each of us. And so just even, the work that, Ebony, that I've been studying lately, I'm bringing those concepts up, just in ministry work because they are relevant. This is just talking about how people act. And it is in their flesh a lot of times, right? So it's just describing, how people act in their flesh. And so we got to get to the point where people are not acting so much in their flesh, women are not acting so much in their flesh to where they're acting spiritual, walking in the fruits of the spirit. And I think for that to happen, we've spoken about this on different podcasts, and I know at least one of those Sister Chadasha was on, where we talked about that we need the women to stay committed with us, with the Most High, long enough so that they can get the healing that they need. The situation gets made worse when they fall off before they even really get started.
So true. And you touched on something that was really, really profound a few minutes ago. You said safe spaces. It's always, it's easy to feel attacked. So how do we create a safe space? By being transparent and real. Like a lot of times, I'm sorry, but some of our sisters are self-righteous. There's a way to speak to people in a way where it's like, okay, if you want to hear the word, you can. We have an online, we have an online ministry. You can hear it. But if you want to come here and fellowship with us and get the most out of it, this is, give them the kind of like the rundown. This is what we do. You know what I mean? And be real. You know what I'm saying? Just one of the things that I liked about this particular ministry that I'm in is my pastor's real. he said, listen, I've been to jail, I've been shot, I've been in the streets. You know what I'm saying? It's not glorifying it, but that can kind of attract someone who's in that area who wants to hear the truth and feels maybe like they're not worthy. So sometimes it's us. We have to kind of come down off of our high horse a little bit and let the Ruach use us. To Sister Ebony's point about prayer, sometimes the Ruach might be prompting us, let that sister through. I know she don't have a skirt on today, but let her in. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to another sister who you totally block because you see their spirit, and I don't care if you got a skirt on, you ain't coming up in here, right? So it's a combination, and we got to be in a position to be used and really remind ourselves that we were once there. We were once not in the truth. We were once new. We were once new to all of these concepts. So yeah.
It's there's boundaries within and confines and constraints and norms of behavior, ethics and codes of conduct, and all of these different thoughts come into mind. Why? Because the Most High, his house has to be in order. I think this about the scripture, it says, let everything done be done decently and in order. And when we have people come in and they kind of bring all of their drama and chaos into the situation, that is what causes a breakdown in the unity. That's what causes a breakdown within the order, because now we have to keep addressing things. And once you start addressing people who are broken, they become offended. But if you address someone who is, not broken on something that they may have done or an offense, if you come and tell me, Tirtzah, you offended this person, I'm going to want to know what I did to offend them. I'm not going to say, oh, I never did that to that person. I want to know, why did they think that was offensive? I'm going to ask questions about it. But whenever you're dealing with people who are coming in from a carnal perspective or a broken perspective or a traumatic perspective, a lot of times they take just people talking to them about something as this huge criticism, which it's not.
And I mean, people need to know when they come to this way, it's a transformation and a renewal that needs to take place. So be expected to be uncomfortable. You're gonna be uncomfortable, because as we read this book, it tells us how we should live, how we should act, how we should conduct ourselves, how we should be thinking, a way of life that we probably was not born in, probably wasn't raised in, probably wasn't taught a lot of these concepts. So you have to unlearn, and this is a podcast that we had before. You got to unlearn and relearn, right? And I think people just need to know that listen, it's not an attack against you, sis. Is that we are expected to transform. And so you can't stay the way you are. If you want to stay the way you are, then maybe, our group is not for you, because we're interested in getting to the kingdom. And that takes a lot of transformation. And change does not feel good. So I may say something to you that may offend you, but it's all in love, because I want to see us all grow. But that takes circles like this. That takes, being in groups where we are fellowshipping and talking about these type of things, not, Monique and Shay Shay and what they was talking about and stuff like that, like real stuff. And so a person that's sitting on the sidelines could say, oh, okay, so that's what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be growing. I'm supposed to be changing, as opposed to, the Christian way of take me how I am. And a lot of times people come through the door with that mindset, but that's not what this is. So, setting expectations, I think, is one thing that we really need to do when we are, faced with someone that's new and coming in.
When people come, they have like that song, come just as you are to worship. I can't even really sing the song. I do not like that, because I do agree that come as you are, but you only get that one time. You come as you are, but once you come, then now it's time for you and to allow the Most High to change you. And so when we talk about creating trauma and drama-free circles and spaces for women, we're actually talking about them kind of giving us a benefit of a doubt that we are creating a space that is going to be uncomfortable for them. But if they stick it out even a year, even 2 years, they are going to see a transformation in who they are. If they started at the bottom of the mountain, they are going to make it up to the top of a hill, maybe even a big mountain for some, but there's going to be transformation. They just have to be willing to go through that pain, to have that motivation, to give the benefit of the doubt that this might not feel comfortable for me right now, but I'm going to stay right here until I get my breakthrough, until I make it to where the Most High has for me to be. And that takes discipline. Because, if I got so offended when someone told me about my wrong deeds that I said, I give up, I'm done, throw in the towel, I wouldn't be serving the Most High for 20, however many years I've been serving him for. I would be doing my own thoughts, doing my own pleasures, doing my own things. And guess what? Staying in my own trauma, staying in my own brokenness. I think, and I want to give more space for Ebony to talk too, but I think about the whole concept of women building. The scripture says that a wise woman builds her house. And then we also see where Yah built Chava, he built Eve. He didn't, it doesn't say he created her, but it says he built her. And so women have this building power, but with building any sort of structure comes destruction as well, comes laying down groundwork or building in foundations, or cutting down trees, or doing hard labor. You know what I mean? Some component of work goes into building, and also some component of destruction. And I think that a lot of times women are caught in that destruction phase if they are working in an unregenerated place. So I want to be able to give some room for you both to talk.
I love that. That is absolutely true. And something just keeps pulling me to talk about the other side of all of this. I still feel as if we, as the people who have more understanding and know more, I feel as if we have a little bit more on it. What I'm trying to say, we are currently reading this book together, Shepherding a Child's Heart by Ted Tripp. And one of the chapters, it talks about types of communication. And in this chapter, it talks about communication of encouragement, correction, rebuke, entreaty, instruction, warning, teaching, and prayer. And I bring that up because I feel as if a lot of how we deal with new sisters is going to have a serious effect on how we're communicating with them. And Sister Chadasha mentioned earlier about being transparent, right? I think in that component has that relatability factor when we're talking to new sisters, but then also our methods of communications and how we are talking to them. And I put a lot of that weight on us, even though we're talking about from the perspective of them, having understanding of where we're coming from. I still feel as if a lot of the weight should come from us, because we should have more of an understanding on how the unhealed mind works. That they're going to come to us like a baby, like a child, who's like, that's my toy and I want my toy right now. How dare you say I have to share? Like, you know what I mean? And then us as the parents, in this scenario, I'm not saying we sunning anybody. I'm not trying to say that. But just we are able to see the bigger picture, right? We're able to see like, okay, I see where you're coming from, right? And right now, I got to correct you in love, sis. That was an error. And at another time, like, this was not okay. This is my boundary. Like, you can't do that. But I think a lot of that falls on us in setting the standard, somewhat like a code of conduct, or however you want to, what terminology you want to use, like when we're talking to them. But I really believe that it starts out with us and how we're like communicating with them. And showing them that this is a safe space, right? That it does have like, rules and boundaries. And that, like, know that if you are offended and I'm gonna come to you, like, I need you not to be offended about me asking about why you're offended. Just having this understanding that we know a little bit more. So we can come from a more of a place of confidence and operating in the spirit, because they're not, right? They're operating in their flesh. I hope that makes sense. Did all that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. I mean, communication is key. And that will be an area where you might have to pull another sister aside, like, well, the way you said that to her, you know, might not be effective, since you have, that training, that knowledge. And I mean, it's not just for new sisters, it's for sisters that's been in it too. And sometimes everybody need to be pulled aside a moment or two. And so if you know a better way to communicate, or it's something heavy on your spirit that just grieving you, like, oh, she shouldn't have said that, you know it's up to you and me and the rest of us also to say something to our fellow sister, like, maybe you shouldn't have handled it like that. We don't want to we don't want to offend. We want to get the point. We want to get the message across, but we don't want to hurt people. And so sometimes it would take, oh, I didn't know, I didn't know I said it like that. So then I could go to that sister and say, sis, I didn't mean it like that. I didn't mean to come off like that. What I was trying to say was, you know what I mean? So I really love that, Ebony. I really love that.
I would just say this, that in our efforts to not easily offend the new people, that we don't be easily offended by their by them being offended. I just think it just, it really just kind of, like I said from the beginning, we're really good at putting ourselves in situations where we don't have to deal with broken people. Like I look forward to Shabbat. Like it's time we come together, all these different families. I know my children. I don't have to look nowhere for them. I know they are in a good place, a safe space where you know the chances of something happening will be minimal. You know what I mean? There's dads there, there's wives there. It's just a beautiful time to fellowship. If that could be my life all the time, I would love it. However, the real growth comes from, adversity, right? That's what the scriptures say. Like, don't shy away from that. That's where the growth is really at, and where you are able to really look to yourself internally and see what parts is still, the ego, that pride, whatever is going on with you. So I just, don't just, in our efforts to not offend, for us not to be offended by the new folks coming in.
Yeah, and I would say that with that, I think there's wisdom in kind of like a slow admission into, if we're going to call it a sisterhood, or like a slow admission into the inner circle. And I've said this so many times, and it's probably been on the podcast at least once. But I don't see us as having a social club, or as having a clique, or as having like a mean girls club. Like we're all so spiritual, and people coming in, and they're broken, and they're causing problems and chaos and everything like that. Not being in that type of a situation, but when people come in, like, kind of, I don't want to say testing them or proving them, or when a situation occurs and we're seeing how they're behaving or responding to something, just kind of having some kind of a transition into our spaces, only to protect the order and the functionality of our spaces. Like, Ebony, what you just said, every time, I want to look forward, as scripture say, I was glad when they said to me, the house of Yahweh, let's go. I get excited every single week about going to Shabbat service and fellowship. I don't want to miss out on it. My kids don't want to miss out on it either. But when there's chaos and dissension and struggle, that kind of interferes with the work of the ministry, which is going towards the perfecting of the saints. It's going towards the perfecting of the saints. Well, we need people to get to a point where they're I don't want to say that they're ready to be perfected into saints, but that they're willing, I should say, to be perfected. And and I think that, I don't know what that looks like exactly. I don't want to say I know what that looks like, because again, I don't want to make anyone feel excluded. But if you're not ready and willing to actually be committed to the Father and put this work in, right, then maybe you don't want to be in that inner circle of sisters and of sisterhood. maybe it's on that other person who doesn't want to be there. Because I feel like if a sister really wants to be there, even if there's a moment of correction, of error, or of her dealing with her brokenness, she's going to be more willing to be led, into more function, by the wiser women or the older women, or um, by her mentors. And I see that as being a thing. I see discipleship as being a thing. Just being willing to kind of be a younger sister, even if you're an elderly woman coming into this walk, you're willing to be a younger sister, until you can become more refined and led by the Spirit.
It's just, I just don't know who determines, the levels, but because some people, their spirits just ain't right. And if you could pick up on it, if you could discern it, it's like, why are we pouring into this vessel that doesn't want to be healed, that just wants to, their agent. They just want to create division and problems. And it just takes, it takes prayer. It takes prayer. It takes discussions like this. Your spiritual senses got to be activated, because we're talking like everyone that comes in, wants to be healed. We're talking like, and that's our hope, but that's not reality. And there's some, there's some sisters that they have ulterior motives. They are coming to break up the ministry. You know what I'm saying? Like, that they don't know they on a mission, but they're on a mission. And we got to be able to discern that. So it's not so much always us trying to welcome everybody into the inner circle, but giving them that chance that, okay, if you do want to repent, this is your chance to repent. But if you continue, y'all will let us know. Like, that ain't, that spirit ain't right, and we about to pray you out. So it's just the reality of the situation too, of knowing that everybody doesn't come through the door wanting salvation. And so we got to be realistic about that as well. And so if someone is coming for salvation, you're going to see the fruits of it. You're going to see that sister reaching out saying, listen, I need help. You know what I'm saying? You're going to see that sister, trying. You're going to see them at least trying.
That's why I think that kind of limiting the number of new sisters, so that we have time to get to know the ones that are coming in the door. I don't want to say there's a waiting list, but um, how do we get to know the situations that these women are going through, and help them if they agree to it? Hallelujah, they have to agree, work on getting the healing that they need with the Father.
Yeah, I think the word that came to mind when you were talking was strategy, strategic about how we have people coming in, because you don't want to be outnumbered. You don't want to be outnumbered, because those familiar spirits will get real familiar with each other. So yes, I'm in agreement with that. And I think as long as we are staying in tune with his Ruach and going to him for all matters, great and small, that we're being led by his spirit, I think no matter what the outcome is, it's going to turn out the way he wants it to turn out, right? Because we can want to, I'm thinking about Peter, trying to walk out there. We we can want people to have faith and trust in him, and we can push them out in that water, we can hold their hand, we can do whatever, but at the end of the day, it's going to be up to them, what they really want. But I just love that the desire is there to be used by him, and for us to not lose sight as to why we're doing it in the first place, right? It's just to provide this opportunity for them to have a relationship with the Messiah, this beautiful relationship that has freed us and given us peace and refuge and clarity on life. I just want this for you too. You know what I mean? And if we don't lose sight of that, I think we'll be all right.
For me, I'll just talk about my own preference, and I'm hoping that what I say is something that you all can agree on, and let me know if I'm off base here. But a place where I feel safe is a place, of peace, of refuge, a place where, if I have a problem, a place I could go to and reveal that problem. If I'm feeling weak, I can go to and talk to people, and they'll either strengthen me or pray with me so that I could be strengthened. It's a place where there's no like drama, backbiting, talking behind backs, slander, evil intentions, but it's like a place of peace. And so when I think about this, thinking about creating safe, trauma-free, drama-free spaces for women, it's like getting out all the rocks from a garden. It's like readying that area, and kind of growing, in that space. It's a healthy space. It's a space that I want my children to grow in, like, my family kind of a space. But it's a healthy space, and we just have to make sure that we can maintain that for ourselves and for others. And is there agreement there, or, is there a different element of thought that you have to add, or am I off base? Like, I'm ready to hear any challenges to that, but that's just kind of my concept of like a safe space, which is a space that I believe and that I want in the spirit of to dwell and to be. If I go away for a Sukkot gathering, I want to be in the camp of the righteous. I want for us to, every day we wake up, to sing songs and praise Yahweh. And, if the one family, they just made it there, oh, I got some extra dinner over here. If the one, the child comes to my cabin and they see that, or how about I'll say one of my children go to to Mrs. Ebony's cabin, and they see that her kids have hot chocolate, that she's going to get them a pack of hot chocolate. She's not going to be like, go tell your mom to get her hot chocolate, or go to the dollar store and get some, you know what I mean? But it's like a place where we're all one in the spirit. And so that's kind of like our common denominator. And so we treat each other in that way, with love. That's really the space that I want to be in.
Oh, I agree. I want to be in that space too. And I think it's important for us to communicate that to people, and to have those kind of discussions, because a lot of times we assume, or we say, oh, that person should know that, or all right, we all in Torah, you should know this, you should know that. But some people, they grow up different, they never had that, they don't know what it looks like, they don't know what it feels like If I'm giving you some food, say somebody been traumatized and they like, oh, she tried to kill me, she gave me some food. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta communicate that, and along with the communication of it, showing people like what it looks like, and not being offended if somebody snatches their hand back and doesn't want to take your food, or if they don't give your child some hot chocolate, not being like, why my baby ain't getting no hot chocolate. It's kind of like, well, sis, it's a child, and just having that talk. And one of the things that I really did like that came out tonight is just communication and how things are being said and communicated, and the urge to go to maybe your favorite sister and be like, did you know she did not give my baby a hot chocolate? You know what I'm saying? I mean, we do that, but how should I address this type of thing? And try, instead of holding that now against that woman, she probably ain't have enough. You know what I'm saying? So, communicating. Listen, this is what we want our village to look like. And if you want to help build such a place, or you want to reside in such a place, then let's do this together. It's easier said than done, but I'm sure that genuine people and the righteous, they would not have a problem. They don't have a problem with decency and order. They don't have a problem with that. Sometimes people just don't know what it looks like, and so they have to be exposed to it.
I agree. You both said it beautifully. I have have nothing to add at the moment.
Well, I just want to say that any sister listening to this, coming across this, our goal is to be transformed by the renewing of our mind. And whatever someone says to you, or in correction, or however it is, just to kind of have that self-talk with yourself. Does this help? Is this scripture? Am I this way? Do I battle with this? Do I struggle with this? And take it to the Father in prayer. Pray about it, because none of us are perfect. We all have fallen short, and it's not an attack. We have to stop feeling attacked by each other and begin to heal and build our community. And it starts with us, sisters. It starts with us. So I will yield, but we wanna be better. We wanna be transformed. We wanna be better than we was when we came in, better than we was last year, even better than we was last week. So take everything you hear and really chew on it, and look at self and pray about it.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful. To add, to encourage sisters new and old, to be reminded of the seasons that are constantly changing. There's a time for life, there's a time for death, there's a time for laughter, there's a time for tears. And just know that whatever situation you're in right now, it will not be forever. Y'all willing, right? There's a time for learning, there's a time to be a student, there's a time to be a teacher, there's a time to speak, there's a time to be silent, and just remember that there's a season for all of that. So just hold on to your peace. If new things come up and you don't understand, just continue to go to the Father. He will reveal those to you. So hallelujah.
Yeah, and I think that requires humility as well, to know that you don't know it all and to come ready to learn, ready to be transformed. So prayerfully, none of the sisters were offended by this conversation and decided to hit the stop button on it. Because we are here to build and to grow. Hallelujah.